Well, given that risk is variability,
let's hear from the experts about how artificial intelligence is transforming to manage business. I'm Katie Gaertner, and this is Unsupervised. Hi, Business Badgers. Today I'm sitting with my friend Joan Schmit, a risk and insurance professor here at the University of Wisconsin Business School. Joan earned her PhD from Indiana University in insurance. Her areas of expertise include insurance regulation, enterprise risk management, and the interaction of law and economics in an insurance and risk management context. So Joan, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's talk about risk and AI.
Sounds great.
Okay. So first, you need to educate us. What even is risk and insurance? Why is it a major here at the business school?
Risk and insurance is the idea of identifying and measuring sources of variability, which is risk, and then having an appreciation for how we can manage that variability. We don't want to eliminate the variability or risk because that is too costly and you wouldn't have the upside to the variability. And so people in risk management are going to have the knowledge about the numerous ways that there can be variability to organizations and to individuals, and then also the multiple ways to manage that risk. Insurance is in the title because it is one of the key ways to manage risk, yet I often think of insurance being the last thing to manage risk because it is costly, and if we can manage risk effectively without insurance, it's valuable to do that.
Oh. So now that we know what risk management is, how is it being used? How is AI being used in risk?
Well, given that risk is variability, we can think of AI as being the perfect tool to manage risk. And one of the aspects that I did not mention when I described what risk management is that every aspect of business and everyday life involves risk. And so the more that we can predict what's going to happen, the better we're able to manage. So that's a first part. And organizations have been using artificial intelligence for decades in trying to understand what can happen and to lower that amount of risk. Then organizations are using it in insurance to identify when there are fraudulent claims that are brought forward, to make certain that they're just paying out when it's appropriate, as well as the back office types of work to make that more efficient, for chatbots as are being used in all different dimensions of work. So it's being used extensively in all dimensions of managing risk for an insurer, but also for every organization.
Okay, interesting. So now that we've laid the groundwork, what are some of the most exciting or transformative AI developments that you see in risk management that you're excited about?
Well, I'm excited about the development always. And as I said, artificial intelligence has been used in risk management for decades. So to me, on some level, it's not really that new, yet I can see the value in making the product more accessible to individuals, that we can understand them better, they don't have as many exclusions, and the coverage can be more extensive. All of those are positives for society as a whole, for insurers, for the individuals. But I think where risk management is most benefited by artificial intelligence is in the opportunity to prevent loss. So the more that we know about what causes loss, the better we can implement techniques to reduce that likelihood, or to reduce the size of the events when they do occur. So, for example, we have the Creative Destruction Lab here at Wisconsin, which is a program for early stage startups. We're now in our 5th year of having a risk stream. And throughout those 5 years, we've seen a number of organizations that take the data on climate, for example, and try to anticipate what could happen. And when that's done well, we can implement mechanisms to make it less powerful or less likely that it happens. And so those opportunities to prevent loss are significant. And that's what makes me most excited. Again, all of society benefits when the losses don't ever happen. And so that's good for everyone when we can do that.
Yeah. Okay. That is exciting. I agree. Can you share with us some examples of how AI is changing the way companies and risk compete and how they're adapting their business models or practices to incorporate these emerging technologies?
So I'm probably a bit of an unusual individual that I'm not seeing massive changes in the industry, again, because AI has been around for a long time in insurance and risk management. But I do see the opportunities being greater, that insurers are moving to a place where they're not paying for loss, they're preventing loss. And that makes me really excited, and I see that change happening somewhat slowly, but I could see a tipping point where it then becomes the dominant view of you don't buy insurance to pay for loss, you buy the insurance for the expertise the insurer has because they are bringing together all of the data and can prevent loss. Or it might be that organizations develop that don't accept the payment of loss and they're just using the data to prevent. So that's one of the areas that I am most excited about. And then again, being more efficient. Insurers spend about 30% of every premium dollar on just the activities of their operations. And the more efficient they can be, then obviously it makes insurance less expensive, more available, and again, everyone wins. That's not very exciting, but to the extent that the insurers can do that, they will be the successful organizations. So one thing in preparing for talking with you, Katie, that I've been thinking about is this notion of small organizations versus large. The large organizations are going to have access to more data, and data are the limiting factor of the use of artificial intelligence. And I don't know if that's going to make larger organizations more able to implement these techniques. And what will happen then to the smaller? Will the larger sell the data, or will there just be data warehouses? I think of Google as being a data company. Are they just going to sell that information and then the small companies can use it? So that's where I think the competition generates from having good and plentiful data is where the real competition arises.
I've heard it said that data is the new oil.
Yes, and I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So given that the industry is changing and that there's these new tools available, how do you see roles in risk management changing? And specifically, what skills are becoming important for our risk students as they get ready to prepare for the job market? What is your advice for them?
So I've been thinking about this question as well. And I'm probably one of the different people to talk with you about this. I feel that our risk management program, as is true of all programs at the Wisconsin School of Business, is really trying to train people to be critical thinkers. And I mentioned Ajay Agrawal to you recently, and he's written a couple of books on artificial intelligence, sort of how we use it and how it's going to change the world. And he says it's all about prediction. Human beings still have to be the decision makers. And that indicates we have to have the critical thinking skills to make excellent decisions from the data that are offered to us. I feel that, again, risk management has always done that. Today, I think the students can really see the value of being outstanding critical thinkers and having to develop that ability. So the ability to understand what sort of prompts to ask when you're using artificial intelligence. when are data good? When are they not good? When the outcome arises, what are the opportunities? What are the options available to the decision maker? All of those are aspects that artificial intelligence, I don't believe, can undertake. And so having the ability to really think through the problems, that will be the key for all business degrees, I believe, and all degrees generally speaking.
Oh, that's great advice. All right, Joan, I have a fun question to wrap up with for you. If you could turn over one task or responsibility to AI or robotics that you would never have to do again, what bot would you invent?
Katie, I think that probably in asking me as a professor, if you ask many different professors, you're going to hear that grading is the least fun activity for us to undertake, and you know that as well. But if you don't grade, you don't know what the students are understanding and what they're not getting and where you should put your emphasis. So I'm not going to say that. Instead, the letter writing, the recommendations, I actually think we should get rid of that altogether. If somebody can't get a good letter of recommendation, they shouldn't be trying to go to grad school or get a job. They should just forget it. And so that's what I would love, just to be able to have a bot write all the letters of recommendation, and we would never have to do that again.
Then we'll have a world where the bots are writing the letters of recommendation and reading them.
Yes, yes. You have two different bots. That sounds perfect.
Well, that would be a huge relief to have that taken off the board. Thank you so much, Joan. I've learned so much talking to you, and I always like chatting with you. You're a great friend, and I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today and talk to my students about risk management.
It's been fantastic, and every student should take RMI 300. It's an awesome, or 700. Both are great classes.
They are, and
Yes.
You're a great teacher.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Unsupervised is brought to you by the Wisconsin School of Business. It's written and hosted by Katie Gaertner, with sound editing and production by Derek Schneider and Billy Kardaj.